Greetings, Kryptonites, and welcome to the EnCrypted SUMMER SPOOKTACULAR for a selection of True Life supernatural stories from a popular magazine for women. Prepare for your jaws to drop and your eyes to roll as we encounter a host of rapacious rodents, lavatorial Lotharios, and nighttime knockers in crepuscular Cornish cottages, all ripped from the pages of Take a Break, Fate and Fortune magazine. Okay, well, here we are again with another load of old rubbish from the pages of Take a Break, Fate and Fortune, Britain's favourite women's supernatural monthly magazine. And remember, those that did, you asked for this, some of you. So, the first story is, well, it's all here in the title, really. Stalked by a Squirrel. Sent in by Jean Vine, aged 71. When I moved into my new home, it says, I had no idea it came with a scary flatmate. So, scary, okay? This is your trigger warning, folks. As I unpacked my last cardboard box, I let out a sigh of relief and felt an immense sense of satisfaction. Phew, all done, I said to myself. Newly divorced, I'd just rented myself a ground floor flat. I'd been looking to rent for a while and had been on a few viewings, but when I saw this flat, I knew I had to have it. Set in an ancient woodland, it was a ground floor flat, surrounded by organic wild strawberries. Did you get that? Organic. I don't want you to think she was in the fruit aisle at Sainsbury's with punnets everywhere. These strawberries were literally growing in the ground. It was perfect for me. In a past life, it had been a Georgian coaching inn, but had lain empty for some time. The rent was cheap, so I guess the landlord was keen to get someone in. You can already see where this is going, can't you? If something's too good to be true and all that, cheap rent, abundance of organic strawberries, there must be a catch. As soon as I moved in, I set about cleaning it, as it had a bit of a damp smell, but nothing some cleaning products and a sponge couldn't fix. Strawberry sponge. Shortly after I'd settled in and made the place feel like home, I was in bed one night when I was awoken by a strange noise. Oh, poor Jean, one too many organic strawberries. No, I could hear this constant scratching at my bedroom window, but I brushed it off as just birds and went back to sleep. Then, another night, when I was watching TV, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something outside my patio door. A squirrel. Just sitting there it was, with its nose pressed up against the door, running its claws up and down the glass. Oh, you must be hungry. Let me see what I've got for you, I said as I started looking through my cupboards. Oh, Jean, this is a terrible mistake. You live in a strawberry field. It's not going to starve. Here you go, I said, as I gingerly placed some peanuts and bits of toasted bun on the ground nearby. Did you hear that? Toasted bun. She's already cooking for the damn thing. Why not whip it up a beef Wellington and sherry trifle for afters? Toasted bun. Imagine the squirrel going,
It's a bit dry on its own, love. Cup of tea would wash it down nice.
Anyway, it was all that I had, and as he gobbled it up, I hoped he'd be satisfied with my offering. He must have been, because over the course of the next few months, this squirrel scratched at my windows day and night, wanting more food. Well, we tried to warn you, Jean. This was going to happen. No matter what I gave him, it never seemed enough. Maybe it wants to eat you. It might sound a bit silly, but as time went on, I found his intimidation tactics a bit scary. No, it doesn't sound silly at all, honest. I started drawing the curtains, pretending not to be home, but it didn't work. He just scratched louder and louder.
I know you're in there, Jean. And I know you've got food, because I saw the card over here this morning. So open up, you hear me? I want a Sunday dinner, with all the trimmings, and spotted dick for pudding.
Eventually, I became too scared to sit out in my garden in case the squirrel jumped on the patio table. I stopped opening my window too, for fear of it creeping into the flat. You know what I like about you, Jean? Intimidation tactics.
You know what I like about you, Jean? You got good taste. You got some lovely ornaments in here. Be a shame if anything got broken. Now make me a sandwich!
Well, after living there for about a year, I'd had enough. The stalking squirrel became too much, and I moved out. Looking back, I wonder if this was the reason the flat was empty for so long. Perhaps he was the reincarnation of someone who used to live there. Yes, that's the most plausible explanation, Jean. He's the reincarnation of somebody who used to live there, and that's why he was always hanging around. Astonishingly, that story ends there. At the end, it says we pay up to £150 for these stories. Unbelievable. £150 for that. It was like some kind of deranged Beatrix Potter, wasn't it? Beatrix Potty. Now, those who've listened to my other readings of these stories will know that the story about the Phantom Flusher is one of the all-time greats of the genre. So I've got high hopes for this one because there's a picture of a toilet. It's from Emma Parsons Reed, aged 56, and it's called It's True Lav. It's True Lav, okay. Lav. Reclining in the bathtub, with steam rising around me, I let myself have a good cry. Heartbroken, I'd just moved into a rented house, having recently broken up with my boyfriend. And then a squirrel popped up between my legs and asked for a biscuit. No, it doesn't say that. It says, as I sobbed cathartic tears, I sank further into the scented, warm water. Oh no, I think she's going to drown herself. Don't do it, Emma. But then, I felt a pair of arms around me. It was so real, I cried out in alarm. Flailing about in the bubbles, I craned my head to look behind me, but there was no one there. Strange, I muttered. Still, something had changed. I felt cared for, as if someone had hugged me. You know, a nice bath can feel like a hug, can't it? You know, self-care. But no, as I got out, dried myself, looked at my reflection. Was it my imagination? Or did I feel someone was next to me? Again I turned. Nothing. In time I got over the breakup, but whenever I went into the bathroom, I always felt as if someone was there, watching me. It's a bit creepy. Maybe the landlord's got a camera rigged up in there or something. But it wasn't a scary feeling, though. It was as if I was being looked after. It was as if I was being looked out for. And loved. Oh, bless Emma. She's so lonely. She'd love a little squirrel friend hanging around outside that flat, wouldn't she? One day, I was talking to the neighbour when they let something slip. Well, it happens to all of us. Better out than in, as they say. Pardon? I said. No, he's supposed to say pardon. Pardon? I said, disbelieving my ears. He repeated it. The last tenant was a man who died on the toilet in your house, he said. I gasped. Died on the toilet? So that was why there was such a strong aura in the bathroom. That reminds me of the time I took ill after a green curry at the old Siam. Very strong aura after that. Hung around for days, it did. Weirdly, says Emma, it didn't scare me. Most people would have been horrified at best, or even moved out. But not me. Casting shade on Jean there. But not me. I even felt something like love whenever I used the bathroom. Probably over-enthusiastic wiping. No, naughty. From then on, whenever I went to the bathroom, I'd say hello to my resident ghoul. I'd tell him about my day, what was going on, boyfriends, breakups. And if I was sad, I felt that same pair of arms around me. The funny thing about all this to me is that she's saying all this, but I'm imagining some fella sat on the carsey, trousers round his ankles, pained expression on his face. What about you? I'd ask. Can't you move on? I never got a reply. To be honest, I expect trouble with movements was one of the symptoms. In time, I met my husband, Kevin, and we decided to set up home together. I gave notice to the landlord and began packing up my belongings, carefully placing my possessions into boxes. But I knew there was something I couldn't swaddle in bubble wrap like my kitchenware. It was my friendly toilet phantom. On the last day, I had a quick check around all the rooms to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything. Then I wandered into the bathroom one last time. Sad to leave my friend, I allowed myself a little cry. Thank you for all your love and support, I wept. No reply, but I felt a warm feeling, as if my ghost was wishing me well. It's moving. I hope some of you have got some Kleenex. Time passed. I married Kevin and had kids, but I often thought of my toilet ghost and wondered what he was up to. Had he found love with the next tenant? Or was he still missing me? Curious, this obsession, isn't it? I mean, literally a man on the toilet for eternity, but he has this sort of romantic life. He's probably getting more action than all of us put together. It's so weird. Was he still missing me? Then, one day, I was having another steamy bath, and out of nowhere, I felt his familiar loving presence. Oi, keep your loving presence to yourself, you mucky devil. She's a married woman now. Surely not here, I exclaimed, and wrapping myself in a towel, I told Kevin about my encounter. Can you imagine? Imagine poor Kevin. Maybe the guy's in love with you and he's followed you, he shrugged. You might be right, I smiled, because I'd always felt a connection to this man, so it was a possibility. The next time I took a bath, I asked, "Are you still with me?" And suddenly I felt enveloped in warmth. Oh dear, you want to work on your pelvic floor, love? I felt those same arms around me. He was here. My toilet ghost had followed me. I suppose he was able to travel through the pipes via the sewage system and eventually found the right bathroom or something. That's the only way I can account for it. And Emma says, I really didn't mind. Over the years I bathed my kids in the bathroom, bathed alone, put on my makeup in front of the mirror, and only ever felt a loving presence. I know some people might find my experience terrifying or strange, but I've only ever felt warm and loved by my toilet-dwelling ghost. He has only ever meant well towards my family, and he's never seemed jealous of Kevin. I know I'll always enjoy spending time in the bathroom, thanks to my lavatory love. Well, can you imagine what it's like at their house? All the family queuing up outside with their towels under their arms, Oh, Mum's in there again, permanently wrinkled, looking like she's 100 years old, recycling bin full of empty Radox bottles. Incredible. Well, that's the end of that story. At least, it had a ghost in it and wasn't, the Asbos of Farthing Wood. But I think there must be a scary story in here somewhere. Please. Well, this person looks a bit scary. Looks a bit like Jonathan King. Living the American Dream by Steph Huggan. Huhan? No, let's go with Huggan. Slipping on my signature cargo trousers and comfy hoodie. It's like they're a celebrity, with their own look. They probably are a local celebrity, kind of someone who's known in the area. Slipping on my signature cargo trousers and comfy hoodie, I was ready to head off to my local spiritualist church. They sometimes had a medium there who'd offer one-to-ones, and I went to her 2 or 3 times a year. I wonder if she did the one-to-ones on a 2-for-1 or gives you 1 one-to-one free after every 3 one-to-ones. We'll never know. We can't know. In some of our sessions, my late nan and granddad came through. I'd always believed in the afterlife, and it was a comfort to know that wherever they were still watching over me. This time, though, when I sat down in front of the medium, she told me something I didn't expect. Well, she's the clairvoyant. I mean, if you expect it yourself, there wasn't any point going, was there? She told me, I can see you've got dreams of going to America, but that money's stopping you. That's right, I replied. She was spot on. I'd wanted to go to the USA for as long as I could remember. But you'll get the money soon, she added. Oh, that's interesting, I replied, but I didn't believe her. How on earth would I suddenly come into money? I didn't think much of it, and 4 days later, I went to play bingo. It was one of my favourite pastimes. I'd won a few £100 here and there, but this was a national game and the stakes were much higher. The winner will receive £20,000, the host announced. My jaw dropped. I couldn't imagine having that kind of money. As the game went on, I realised I was getting all the numbers. Oh, imagine that, folks. Before I knew it, I was shouting, bingo! I hoped I'd won. Well, I do as well. I had to wait while it was confirmed. 15 minutes later, the host got back on the microphone. We have our winner, he said, pointing at me. My eyes welled up with tears of happiness. I was in shock, and it suddenly dawned on me that what the medium had said had come true. I called my friends and my mum, Jill, and they were over the moon for me. That night we were all invited to a party to celebrate, and given a free bottle of bubbly. Congratulations, said Mum, as we clinked glasses. Then the bingo host handed me a giant cheque, and photographers took pictures. This story is bound to take a dark turn soon, folks, don't you think? What's the betting they end up in New York on 9/11 or something? The next day I was on cloud 9, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my winnings. I searched transatlantic cruises to New York, and when I found the perfect one, I booked it for me and Mum. It felt strange being able to afford it, and I was giddy at the thought of going. When the day finally arrived, Mum and I boarded the humongous cruise ship, our eyes wide in awe. As the ship set sail, we toasted the holiday with a glass of bubbly. Oh, back on the bubbly. This is how it starts, you see. They've got a taste for bubbly, and before long, you only ever want bubbly. Every morning we had breakfast on the balcony, and then mocktails in the afternoon. I guarantee that's the editor's work there, because they're like the bubbly now. I think that mock was originally cock. I think it said cock. And I think they changed it because they can't be seen to be condoning binge drinking. Well, we know better for that. I'm going to say what it originally said. We had breakfast on the balcony and cocktails in the afternoon. Oh, this is the life, Mum smiled. After 7 days of luxury, we arrived in New York. As we walked through Times Square to get to our hotel, it felt so surreal. We'd booked some excursions and saw lots of sights in a short space of time. We did everything I'd always wanted. We got a water taxi to the Statue of Liberty, took a horse and carriage ride around Central Park. We also went to the top of the Rockefeller Center as the sun was setting and admired the incredible view of the city. Oh, this is unreal, I sighed. You're telling me this is supposed to be a paranormal magazine, and so far it's just about someone who went on a cruise and had a lovely time. Oh, then we went to Katz's Deli and ordered pastrami on rye. I mean, just get to the point, Steph. Honestly. Before we left, I clapped eyes on a gorgeous designer winter hat and just had to splash out on it. Well, I hope you paid for it first, Steph. It felt so nice to be able to treat myself. If you want to copy Steph's signature look, I'll put a photo of the hat on screen along with the cargo trousers and the comfy hoodie. I probably won't. After 3 days, having the time of our lives, we boarded our flight home. It felt like it had all been a dream. The prize money was a godsend because it allowed me to pay off my debts too. Gambling debts, don't you think? Too much bingo. I can't help but think if I hadn't gone to the medium that day, I would never have won the money and gone on that trip of a lifetime. This whole piece is, stealth bragging, isn't it? I'm crossing my fingers that next time the medium will see a lottery win in my future. This is so pointless. I'm really sorry, folks. Is it kind of an exercise in numerology or something? Did you notice we had the medium with the 1-to-1s? So 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, that could be 11. 2 to 3 times a year, 2 and 23, 2, 2, 3. 4 days later, one of my favourite pastimes, 4 days, 1, 41, 20 grand, 15 minutes later, 7 days of luxury. You can use these to pick your next lotto numbers. Well, that was rubbish, so apologies. This looks much more promising, though. The Cursed Cottage by Rebecca Moore, aged 33. Our holiday home seemed perfect, but were we really alone? Well, probably not. You'll be stalked by an aggressive pine marten or something, a lascivious mole. Here we go. Brace yourselves. Winding down the car window, I inhaled the sea air. I was on the way to Cornwall with my husband Tom and our son Noah, 3, for a last-minute getaway. We were staying in a cosy cottage, adjoined to a Victorian manor house, and as we pulled up to the property, it looked idyllic. Ducking through the tiny front door, Noah and I raced excitedly up. Hang on, so little 3-year-old Noah had to duck as well. It must have been a bloody tiny door. We makes the doors proper tiny, we does, so's to keep the bloody grockles out. We ducked through the tiny door and raced excitedly up a creaky old wooden staircase into a small, dark corridor with a tiny window and secret hatches. At the end of the corridor, we came face to face with a cabinet of bone-chilling china dolls. This is a great start to the holiday, isn't it? Lovely little holiday cottage on the Cornish coast. Sleeps 3 it does. On-site parking. HD television with satellite channels. 2 bathrooms. 1 ensuite. Dark corridor. Secret hatches. Bone-chilling china dolls. I found it unnerving, but Noah, fortunately, didn't seem scared. Later that evening, while Tom watched TV and Noah was asleep, I took a bath. As I relaxed in the suds, I heard the door click open behind me. It'll be that ghost looking for Emma. Sorry, wrong bathroom. As I relaxed, sinking down into the warm suds and letting the steamy, bubbly water envelop my naked body, I heard the door click open behind me. "Go away, this is my me time," I told Tom. See, she thinks it's Tom coming in, chancing his arm. "Can I scrub your back for you?" "We know your game, Tom, we've all tried that before." Before you know it, he's prodding her with his loofah. "Let her alone, poor woman." "This is my me time," I told Tom. But there was no reply. I whipped my head around to find the door open, but nobody there. It seemed strange, but I assumed I was mistaken and didn't bother telling Tom. The following evening, we were in the living room when an almighty crash came from the kitchen, made us jump out of our skin. On investigation, we found pots and pans from last night's dinner scattered all over the floor. "Maybe a breeze knocked them over?" Tom suggested. "A breeze? Tom seems a bit dim, doesn't he? The windows and doors are all firmly shut, Tom. You're in a haunted cottage, man. Or at the very least, you've got a demon-possessed stoat looking for snacks." On our third night, I was startled awake by 3 loud bangs. Gosh, which seemed to come from underneath the bed. Probably Tom working out some of that unresolved sexual tension. As the vibrations reverberated through the mattress, I froze. There's someone in the house, I thought, and I dashed to Noah's room, but he was sound asleep, thank goodness, I thought. Then, as I turned to leave his room, I saw a dark, shadowy figure floating down the hallway. Before I could even scream, it had disappeared into the wall. Heart pounding, I shook Tom awake. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" he answered groggily. Typical lazy, useless sod. I checked under the bed, but only our suitcases were there. What was happening? The next morning, as we ate breakfast, Tom eyed me suspiciously across the table. Why is he eyeing her suspiciously? Maybe he thinks she's the ghost. "Do you want to go home?" he asked. "Yes, I'm not feeling well," I lied to him. With that, we packed our bags and began the drive home a few days earlier than planned. "Do you think there was anything strange about that house?" I asked Tom when Noah was asleep. "Definitely," he replied. Then he explained how he'd heard a banging upstairs while I was in the bath on the first night, which had spooked him. But he hadn't said anything as he didn't want to worry me. Gosh. Safely back home, we met up with friends, and they listened while we explained the spooky goings-on. But when I told them about the 3 knocks from under the bed, their faces dropped. You know what 3 knocks means? Let me guess. Well, this is what it means to me. "Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. Ooh, twice on the pipe if the answer is no." Sing along if you know it. No, they said 3 knocks are a sign of demonic spirit in the house. You made the right call to leave when you did. Tom and I couldn't believe that. Neither of us have had any paranormal experiences before and were fairly sceptical, but now our haunted holiday has opened our minds. There was a bad energy in that cottage, and it's best left alone. Well, that was a spooky one, wasn't it? But not all spirits are malign. Now we're going to go from Rebecca's phantom knocker to Daniella's spiritual shopper. What did this grey-haired lady want from me? By Daniela Santola, aged 58. Opening my curtains in my lounge, I suddenly sensed I wasn't alone. Sure enough, when I turned round, a middle-aged woman with salt and pepper hair was gripping the back of the settee. I'd felt the presence of spirits since I was a young girl and knew they didn't mean me harm, but this time I felt apprehensive. She looked so real. She had a concentrated expression on her face and wore cream pyjamas with tiny red roses. I decided to turn my back to her. "If you're still there by the time I turn round, I'm going to scream," I said. I counted to 3, turned round quickly, and she was gone. But who was this mysterious figure, and why had she chosen to visit me? I got my answer a few weeks later when I visited Mum. As we sat chatting in the lounge, a photo frame on the side caught my eye. It contained a faded photo of 6 women wearing 1950s clothes. "Who are they?" I asked. "It's your aunties and Great-Granny Griffiths," Mum replied. "Ah, yes, Great-Granny Griffiths. She had died when I was young, and my only memories of her were as a frail, elderly woman. But as I looked closer at her salt and pepper hair, my jaw dropped. There was no doubting that the mysterious figure I'd seen in my flat was Great-Granny Griffiths. Great-Granny Griffiths. I bet she was wearing cream pyjamas in that photo too. "Yes, that's your Great-Granny Griffiths in that photo. She used to love gripping the back of a settee with a concentrated expression on her face. It would take us ages to get round IKEA with her. Great-Granny Griffiths. A while later, I went to visit a medium after a shopping trip in town. As you do. "I see you've got your grandmother with you," she said as she opened the door. "What? She likes going shopping with you?" But I was alone. As time passed, I found I could communicate with Great-Granny Griffiths by asking her questions, and she'd respond with signs. The next time I went shopping, I was on the hunt for a new dressing gown. After a few hours traipsing around town with no luck, I grew tired. It is tiring though, isn't it? They don't carry the stock like they used to, do they? It's all online now, isn't it? Let's see if Great-Granny Griffiths can help, I thought. As I tuned into her presence, the words Bow Avenue came to me. I assume that's a clothes shop or something. I don't know it. As soon as I walked into the store, I spotted the perfect, fluffy dressing gown. It was just what I'd had in mind. And better yet, it was on sale. "Wow, I can't believe it. Thank you, Great-Granny Griffiths," I said. Now I always make sure to bring her with me whenever I go shopping. She has so far helped me to find a gorgeous evening dress and a pair of blue and white trainers. Can you imagine this? "Oh, where shall I look for a dress?" Great-Granny Griffiths going, "Try Primark." Unbelievable dross, this one, isn't it? The items are always really good bargains too, which makes sense because I've been told Great-Granny Griffiths was as tight as a gnat's chuff. No, it says she was a very thrifty lady during her time on Earth. I felt so lucky that Great-Granny Griffiths chooses to connect with me. It's an added bonus that she's a real bargain hunter. Alright, shall we do one more? This is why you can't do... These stories are terrible. The Halfway House. How about this? Our home was full of spooks and none of it made sense. By Leslie Mort, aged 42. Pulling up the covers over my head, I closed my eyes tight and willed sleep to come. It was the time I dreaded most. Sure enough, as I lay still, trying to nod off, the sound of raspy breathing filled my pitch-black bedroom. While my eyes remained shut tight, I could hear footsteps, and my senses told me there was a man walking around my room. The closer he got, the louder the breathing became. It was the same each night, and I often woke up in a cold sweat, having had a nightmare. That man was in my room again last night, I told Mum the following day. Her face dropped as she pulled me in close. Like me, she was deeply spiritual. Maybe it's your granddad coming to say hello, she said, trying to reassure me. Grandad had died from a severe lung condition, which would have explained the heavy breathing. Ah, yes, old wheezy Wilf. "Hey up, Leslie, you all right, duck?" But no, the spirit in my bedroom felt scary and unfamiliar. It wasn't Grandad, but if it wasn't Grandad, who was it? Our 1960s bungalow wasn't your typical haunted house, but our estate had been built on an old mine shaft, and quite a few neighbours had had their homes blessed by priests to ward off spirits. So maybe we weren't the only ones having spooky visitors. I decided that the spirit in my bedroom was probably a miner who'd lost his life down pit. 4 days later it was Mum who came to breakfast in a state, her face deathly pale. "There was a man in my room last night," she said. Probably some bloke she picked up at the bingo. No one likes a show-off, Mum. My heart thumped loudly as she told me all about her midnight encounter. She had been lying in her bed when she felt someone pull back the covers and clamber in next to her. "I thought it was you at first," Mum said. Bit weird. I thought it was you at first. But then she felt his helmet. His miner's helmet. No, she didn't. She stirred, and her eyes opened up to see a man. A complete stranger. And as they locked eyes, he reached forward and ruffled her hair before completely vanishing. He was a ruffler, was he? Well, time passed, and our spooky visitors began to change form. One night, when I was 18, I'd gone to bed feeling upset after a breakup. Don't go to bed, have a bath. As I lay crying, mascara staining my bed sheets, I heard a thud from above me. And then I felt something climb over me, and fur brushing against my face. Oh, good heavens, that takes me back. Before long, the room was echoing with contented purrs. Tadcaster Travelodge, 2004. "Hello," I said. A friendly meow came back. I knew then it was our cat, Alec. But Alec had died 16 years earlier. A few nights later, Mum had a visit too. Here we go. Do you get the feeling that there's some one-upmanship going on here? One-up womanship between mother and daughter. "I saw him jump on the bed," she said, excitedly describing our ginger tabby in perfect detail. Must be true then, if she could describe it. Had whiskers, long tail, 4 legs, ginger-coloured. Unlike the male spirits we'd encountered, we found this visitor very comforting. And then one evening, after watching TV with Mum, I decided to call it a night. 5 minutes and I'll be off to bed too, Mum said. One-upmanship again. Grow up, woman. However, she must have dozed off in the chair, because when she opened her eyes, she had a visitor. In the corner of the room, where the TV had been just a moment before, Mum saw a red leather chair with dark wooden arms. Oh my God. Ghost furniture. And gripping the back of it, in cream pyjamas, was Great Granny Griffiths from the previous story. And she said, "Get yourself down Woolworths, they're doing half price on ironing board covers." No, of course it wasn't. It was, in the red leather chair, her beloved Mum, my Nan, Granny Mort. She looked so youthful and very happy, Mum. She looked so youthful and very happy, Mum sighed as she told me all about it the next day. Instead of being afraid, she was now in awe of what this house was capable of. It seemed to us that this strange little bungalow was slightly above the earth's veil between the physical and the spiritual, which was why we kept having these random connections with heaven. Yeah, of course, see, the problem you got here is that The Cowsons what built this place, and he built it a bit above the Earth's veil, between the physical and the spiritual. See, so we got during the day the spirits come through, and then at night time when the timbers contract, that's when your spirits are kind of trapped in there and they manifest themselves. It's going to cost you to put it right. Well, that's enough of that. I can't bother to finish that. There's a little bit more about she does angel readings. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed this roundup of silly, spooky tales from Take a Break. And if you did, we'll do it again sometime. If you didn't, please be reassured that there'll be more classic ghost and horror stories on the channel very soon. Until next time, don't feed the squirrels, don't let strange men in your bed, and stay spooky.